Today on the Ask BP podcast, we're talking about, should I get a home equity loan or a cash out refinance to buy a new property? Stay tuned.
You're listening to another Bigger Pockets Ask BP podcast, where you'll hear short, direct answers to your biggest real estate questions. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the Bigger Pockets forums by using hashtag AskBP. And don't forget to pick up your copy of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing and other great content when you sign up for your free account at biggerpockets.com. With that, let's get to the show.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night to everybody out there in the Bigger Pockets universe. My name is Brandon, and you are listening to the Ask BP podcast. And today, we're talking about financing a property. Today's question comes to us from Gabriel from Clifton, New Jersey. And Gabriel asks, Brandon, should I get a home equity loan or a cash out refinance? Now, let me expand on this question a little bit because I talked to Gabriel back and forth a few times before recording this to get the full picture of what he was wondering. And here's the deal. Gabriel has a house that is paid off. In other words, he doesn't owe any money on it. He has about $150,000 in value in this property. Now, he wants to be able to take that equity that he has in the property, since he owes nothing and it's worth $150K. He wants to take some of that equity to go buy more real estate. So his question basically is, what is the best way to tap into that money? Is it going to be through a home equity loan or a cash out refinance? Now, I like this question because my in-laws recently went through the same issue. They had the same question. They had a property, their own personal home, that was paid off in cash. They didn't owe any money on it. Now they wanted to buy a rental property. So the question was, now they could go out and get a home equity loan on their primary residence, or they could just go get a mortgage on their primary residence. What's better? Well, let me talk about the difference real quick. So basically how a home equity loan works is you go to the bank, you fill out some paperwork, they do an appraisal, and then you get the money and they put a lien on the property. Very, very similar to how a mortgage works, in which you go to the bank, you fill out some paperwork, they put a lien on the property, and you get the cash. It's very, very similar. Now, a home equity loan, however, is a little different in that usually they're used as second mortgages. A home equity loan is usually used as a second mortgage, not usually a first, which means usually people have a first mortgage and then they put a second on top of it to borrow even more money on their equity. But this time, because Gabriel doesn't owe anything on the property, that home equity loan would be a first lien. Now, home equity loans are oftentimes confused with a home equity line of credit. One of the first episodes of the Ask BP podcast, we talked about that. What is the difference between a home equity line of credit and a home equity loan? Now, I'm not going to go into that too much now, but basically a home equity line of credit is variable, like a credit card. A home equity loan, you pull out one amount and you pay it back monthly, more like a car loan. So what's better? Now, of course, then there's the mortgage side of things, which we all probably know what a mortgage is. You go to the bank and get a loan, pay it off for 30 years. So what is best for Gabriel? Now that I spent the last 2 hours setting that up, what is best for Gabriel to do? I think personally, I'm just going to go ahead and say personally, I would assume the refinance is going to be the better option. And here's why I say that. I used to be a banker at a big national bank, and I did these home equity loans all the time. Home equity loans can be good. They can be great, actually. However, home equity loans typically have a little bit higher interest rate, and typically they have a shorter term. And so, everybody knows, well, maybe not everybody knows, I know, and a lot of people know, a home equity line of credit typically has crazy low interest rates. Like you can go get a home equity line of credit for like 3%. Because it's variable, because it can go up, so they keep it low. Home equity loans, though, are not variable, so they're usually a little bit higher. In fact, I think average for a home equity loan is probably around the 7% mark right now, where the average mortgage right now is around the 5% mark, maybe even lower, maybe 4%. So again, I would probably go with the refinance for that reason. Now, the home equity loan typically doesn't have a lot of closing costs involved with it. Some banks, just as a promotional thing, will say 0 closing costs. In other words, you can get a home equity loan for no money down, or when, it's pretty awesome, right? However, over the life of the loan, you'll pay more because of the interest, probably. Now, of course, you can check with your local lender. Maybe they have a home equity loan that is a 30-year fixed mortgage with low closing costs, just like a mortgage would be. Maybe, but definitely something to check out. But personally, I think you're probably going to have the most luck by using a refinance, a cash out refinance, where you'll go get a first loan, a first mortgage from a mortgage company or from the mortgage department at the bank, who will then You'll pay them for the next 30 years or whatever term length you want to do. And speaking of that, I do think that is a fantastic way to invest in real estate. It's one of the techniques I talk about in my book, the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down. I talk about that a lot in there. This concept of using your home equity, tapping into it to be able to borrow and be able to buy more property. So kind of a cool strategy. My in-laws did it. They actually, did the home equity loan or with the refinance on their own property, took out the cash to buy another one, and now they're in process of getting a cash out refinance on the rental property because they own no money on it, and they're going to buy another property with that one. And so there's basically using the money from the previous property's equity to buy the next one for cash. Kind of a cool strategy that a lot of investors like using that you might want to use as well. I mentioned that book. If you want to pick up a copy of the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down, just go to biggerpockets.com/no money. You can also find it on Amazon by searching no and low money down. So with that, we're going to get out of here. But before we do, I want to read today's success quote of the day. And that comes from Henry Ford. Good old Mr. Ford said, "The man who will use his skill and constructive imagination to see how much he can give for $1 instead of how little he can give for $1 is bound to succeed." I love that. Let's get out of here. Now, in pursuit of your goals, don't just learn. What? Take action. For the Ask BP podcast, this is Brandon signing off.
You've just heard another episode of the Bigger Pockets Ask BP podcast. Submit your question today on Facebook, Twitter, or the Bigger Pockets forum by using hashtag AskBP. And for more incredible real estate investing tools and education, including a free download of our book, The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing, head over to biggerpockets.com and sign up for your free account today. We'll see you on the next show.